Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to my stream and another chapter working on this guy here. That is our 98 Pontiac Ram-Air. We'll run the intro and we'll get into it. Okay guys, we're back, and this is one of those rare times where we're going to get into it, we're going to start, and I really don't have a plan on what I'm doing. Normally when I begin these videos, I've got an idea in my head of just what I'm going to be working on that day. Today, I don't know. I know I've got a bunch of stuff to do, but it's kind of like little things that normally I wouldn't show you guys me doing, because it's kind of monotonous work that just takes a lot of time to do. And pardon me here, and but in this particular series I'm trying to show you guys the whole process and everything that I do. Get my little cherry picker out of the way here. And so I've decided I'm going to show you guys everything, even if it is just a little bit of detail painting and stuff like that. So that is going to make this series go a little longer than normal for a car build, but I want to show you guys everything and just exactly the whole process for me and what it's doing, because there's a couple of things in this build that I'm doing is like the first time I've ever done it, and so I want to just kind of bring you guys along with me on this journey of me learning, and so you can learn too. So that's kind of the idea here, right? So what am I doing right now? Well, I'm working on the exhaust. You guys saw me do the custom exhaust pipe last time, and since then I've done a little bit of detail painting on this. I want to show you guys, this is my current exhaust, and so I'm giving it that rusty look, and so I'm going to show you guys just how I came up with that particular look and making it look like rusty steel pipe, which it probably was steel piping from the factory. It might have been aluminum, but I doubt it. Or even stainless steel. It wouldn't have been aluminum, but stainless steel was pretty rare in the 90s from the factory. So piping gets really rusty pretty quickly underneath the undercarriage. Now, my buddy who's asked me to build this for him, he wants this car to look pretty clean and nice underneath. He doesn't want it to look like it's been, sitting out in somebody's field for 10 years. So I don't want to go too much with the rust and stuff like that, but I do want to go realistic with it. So I've done the front pipe, and I just haven't done the muffler yet because, well, I don't have any metal paint on that yet. So what am I going to do? I think what I need to do is get some aluminum into my spray gun and spray this aluminum, which is what I did for the front, and I want to do the same process so that it looks, uniform, and it's going to look the same. So I'm going to get some of my XF16 flat aluminum. Let's get this mixed up, and we'll work on that. And I think since I'm painting the aluminum, I might as well paint my rims. If I can open this. Sometimes they really get stuck. That's the problem I find when I thin my paints like that. When I shake them, the paint kind of creeps into the threads and then makes it difficult to open the next time. Where's my little mixer thing? There we go. Let's pour some of this into my airbrush. Way more than I need for this. Get my scissors out of the way here. Another thing I did, speaking of rust, I did paint our drive shaft. Whoops. I painted our drive shaft It might look a little orange right now. So I painted it with the gunmetal, and then I painted it with my rust, because realistically, who the heck keeps their drive shaft polished? Nobody. Everyone neglects the drive shaft. And so another thing I did is I went over the black with a little bit of the rust, so it's not just plain black. It might look just a little, kind of a hint of orange on there. I don't know if the camera even picks it up, because, well, that's what happens. Let's see here. Even through the powder coating, you're going to get rust, and the rust kind of comes through the powder coating, and so your black powder coating eventually kind of looks a little bit orange from the rust. Okay, let's just spray paint this here. Four wheels who were black, but now they're aluminum. Yay! Brakes and things, they need to be aluminum. The back of the wheels and my brake rotors, those all need some love as well. Alright, so I'm not going to do this side of the rims. I want to keep those black, but the outside, the backs of the wheels, definitely got to do those. So that's why I did them. Yes, that is it. I think that's it for what I need to paint aluminum. So that's all. Okay, let's clean up our airbrush here. Spend 5 or 10 minutes doing that, and we'll come back. Okay, so with the airbrush clean, I can move on into things. We're going to let that dry for a few minutes. I'm going to move on to the chassis. So, you might be wondering why I've got masking tape on the chassis. It's because I sprayed this with a coat of gloss clear. You might see it's nice. This is nice and shiny white. Okay, nice and shiny white now because it's got a clear coat on it. Why did I do clear coat on the bottom of the chassis? Because we're going to do some weathering on this. Because unless this thing was in the showroom, and even if it is in the showroom, there's going to be some dirt and grime on the underside of the chassis. Because that's real life. And so I wanted to spray clear coat over this so that when I add my enamels, they don't just soak into the white paint. And so I didn't want to spray paint gloss clear on my engine because, well, I kind of like the matte or satin finish that it has going on because that's realistic. So let's get that off of there. So we've preserved the satin finish of our radiator and our engine just like it should, and there we go. So I want to, this has been drying for about 10 minutes or so. I did this just before I started streaming, so. Okay. I think we might be in a position to start doing some stuff and putting some stuff together on our undercarriage before I really commit to weathering. Now I've got those stuck on my finger. Get off of me. Get off of me. Wow, stubborn tape. Okay, let's have a look here. Step number 2, we got our upper and lower rad hoses in. Step number 3 is putting in the exhaust, which of course I just finished painting. And that is dry now. It's dry, that's good. But I'm not quite done with it yet. I did put a little bit of putty on that pipe. I forgot about that. I need to sand that down a little bit and smooth out our little exhaust tip. Let's sand this putty a little bit more smooth. Unfortunately, that takes my aluminum away, but that's okay. We're going to paint the exhaust tips with some chrome anyway. I got a little bit of a hole I still need to fill, so let's just grab some putty. I'm just going to use my Vallejo plastic putty. For that tiny little hole there. Every time I'm thinking we're ready to start putting this stuff together, the model is telling me, no, you're not. Okay, I actually want to leave that up a little bit so that when that shrinks, it'll still be a little bit ready. So obviously I'm not doing anything with this right now. I can paint the rest of this. So I'm going to do the same treatment on the muffler that I did back here, and I painted it with gunmetal. But what I'm going to do is I have some gunmetal I have thinned out. Actually, what I want to do is maybe light gunmetal. I'm going to do light gunmetal on the muffler. The pipes I should do with... No, I'm going to use light gunmetal. Even though it looks like regular gunmetal, we're doing light. So this just makes it a little bit... What the heck was on my brush? This makes it so it's a little bit darker. The aluminum was just to kind of get it all conformed. Uniform metal metallic look. But the gunmetal is going to be more realistic to an actual steel color. I don't actually have like steel colored paint. I know they make it. I know that it's out there on the market and whatever. I could buy steel colored paint, but I've got regular gunmetal, I got dark gunmetal, I've got metallics, like metallic black, I got metallic gray, I've got other metallics in the gray colors that I can mimic steel pretty good. I don't need to actually buy something marketed as steel. So I'm going to paint this on here like this. I'm going to leave the exhaust tips alone for now. Those are going to be painted a little bit more of a polished look. There we go. Now I think this little section of the pipe should be a little bit less rusty. I think I've gone a little too far with the rust on this actually. So I'm just going to give this, bring back a little bit of our steel color on our pipe here, with maybe just a hint of rust on it. It's going a little too far. It's looking more 60s or 70s car rather than a 90s. So I want it a little bit more steely looking. Yeah, things like the catalytic converter, those things get rusted out pretty bad. And of course, catalytic converters are like one of those things that, similar to the drive shaft, nobody pays attention to, except that they want it removed. Right? Nobody likes their catalytic converters. All they do is rob horsepower, right? If you're buying a car because it's got power and it's sporty, well, the catalytic converter is kind of like the overbearing parent, not wanting you to drive fast. So there, we got a little bit more. It's a little bit more steely looking and not quite so obviously rusted out. The front, though, I think that's realistic. This gets the hottest, that's going to rust fastest. So then we're going to switch gears, because we're talking about cars, right? Gears. And we're going to put some rust onto our muffler and our pipe. So I'm just going to cheat and do that. What? You just coated the whole thing? Yeah, I did. Because that's what I did with the other pipes. Maybe I put too much on. You think I put too much on? I think so. Let's just dab that on there. Soak a little bit of that up. All the way around, pipes are three-dimensional, and so should your paint job. Another thing that rust should be, if you're trying to mimic rust, it should be a little bit blotchy and not perfect. Like, I want to purposely kind of do that and make some dots. Now right now it just basically looks like, you know, maybe a metallic-y orange, but we're going to come back and fix that up. Okay? Trust me. Just trust me. I'm actually going to go like this, because I want a little more on my pipe here. Why do I want more on my pipe? Because just because I do. Another thing is the thicker you put this on, if you do multiple coats with this one, because this is supposed to be dark rust, and as you can see at the bottom of this, it's pretty dark, right? In comparison to that, it's pretty dark. It's because it's kind of a wash, right? So we'll let that dry for 5 or 10 minutes here, and I'm going to give another little bit of love to my rear end here, and maybe onto my front suspension. front suspension, I want a little bit more. It's you know, these are steel pieces that basically never really get anything worked on them. I want them to appear a little bit more rusty. So we'll do that. These are the kind of things that take up all the time, and it's all just these little details that you wind up spending so much time doing that is really what makes a difference in how realistic your model gets. Yeah, you could just paint it one solid color and put it together, but these are the things that kind of makes it the difference between, you know, a toy car sitting on your shelf and a replica sitting on your shelf. Okay, now let's deal with this. I'm going to choose maybe some engine grime. AK Interactive Engine Grime Enamel Color. These things have a lot of pigment in them that settle after a while, so it takes quite a bit to mix them up. Okay, so this is really kind of a ugly brown color. I'm going to call it that, ugly brown. Again, it's kind of a wash, and we're going to clean up a lot of it, but at first it's going to look really nasty. This is going to look really ugly when I first start putting it on here. Okay, we're going to go heavy with it, going in all these lines. And doing this at first, it's not going to look nice, okay, but don't panic. Don't panic, okay? That's the thing. You don't panic. Don't panic, because it's going to look fine. You're just going to have to trust me on this, okay? Yes, even on the engine. Okay. It's probably good enough. Yeah, I think that's good enough. We're gonna let that dry. Actually, let's get in here. Yeah, okay. We're gonna let that dry. And yes, looks like crap now, but not for long. I totally missed a spot on that. totally missed a spot along here on my muffler. There we go. And we'll just... gives me an opportunity to come in here and fix up these little spots that I did miss. We're looking a little too bright in the orange. There we go. I'll come back and fix that and make that a little bit more uniform later. Do a little bit of dry brushing on that to make it look a little less blotchy and weird looking. Now our exhaust tips, they need to be black on the inside, so we can get some black here. Actually, I'm going to use my actual flat black. Actual Tamiya flat black. You guys see me keep on reaching for my Mr. Surfacer 1500, but it's not quite flat black. I want a guaranteed flat black on this, on the insides of these. Basically just shove my brush down inside and spin. Stick it in and spin. Just like that, okay? Black now. Now, like I mentioned before, our exhaust tips should be like, you know, chrome-like, as best as we can get. They would have been chrome in real life, so I'm going to try. You guys have seen me use Molotow chrome a lot, but that stuff is a little fragile, so I'm going to try what the internet has been going crazy about, and that is the Fusion Firm. Let me go grab that stuff. This stuff here, okay, Fusion Firm Ultra Shining Fluid Silver Foil, okay. So this stuff you can buy on Amazon, at least Amazon.com anyway. So they have, it comes with 2 jars. You have obviously your paint, okay. I'm gonna shake this up, okay. You have your paint, but it also comes with its own clear coat. This basically is the same as Aqua Gloss, from what I can tell and from what I've seen. So this stuff, it comes with it. It's got a little brush that comes in the jar, so you can brush it, but it is also very, very thin, and the brush also does that on you. At least it does to me. The brush just falls right back into the jar. Like, thanks a lot. Like, what am I supposed to do with that now? I guess I'm supposed to paint with it. This is the most awkward painting. Okay, so I've got my chrome tips. Just like that. Okay, we've got chrome tips. Not that it wants to really show you guys because it doesn't want to focus. You'll just have to trust me for now. Chrome tips. And a brush that I don't want to touch. This is supposed to go into here, like that. And it's supposed to stay in there, but it actually looks like I've got something that's come out. I don't know if that's supposed to hold the brush tighter, but it came loose. I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, it seems to be holding. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's that. So, we have to let that dry. But we can kind of get in here and do a little bit of our light gunmetal now onto our pipe again and kind of give our same kind of thing like going on as that. Okay? So I didn't have a lot on my brush when I did it before, so let's just dab some of this away and start on the underneath where it's the least noticeable. As the brush starts to dry, it becomes apparent it doesn't want to cover. That's okay. For the actual muffler part, we're going to just go straight across like this. The idea is to not have brush strokes visible. If you can see brush strokes, it kind of really ruins the illusion of the whole thing. That looks pretty good. It's not bad. I don't know if I'm 100% happy with it. I might want to go a little bit more with it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a little bit of this. I'm going to thin it. I want to thin it out and kind of turn it into a bit of a wash. So let's pour a little bit of this. That. And then get some thinner. got myself a very thin metallic wash that I should be able to just kind of blotch onto here and have it look a little rusty, a little metallic-y. Like that, and we'll let that dry. Just like so. And I think that's pretty good. That's got quite a bit of the rust, that really dark, overly orange look on it. It's now gone. So it looks a little bit more, a little less rusty, but there's definitely got some age going on, right? So we'll let that dry like that. I think it's about time, with that drying, we can take care of our steering column and steering wheel and get those installed. We got a steering wheel here. Okay, that's it for that sprue. That nub really is ugly on there. Nothing worse than an ugly nub, you know? Well, okay, so there are many things that are worse than an ugly nub. But it doesn't make the nub look any better. I'm going to get rid of the parting line on this, otherwise the steering wheel won't sit flush. Let's just do a little test fit here and make sure the steering wheel even fits. Yeah, okay, that's good. So they do have the peg for the dash, of how it goes into the dash. I'm not going to glue this into the dash yet. This is just for me to know at what point my steering wheel is going to be straight. And that's, holy crap. It's one thing for one piece to fall on the floor, but both of you? Come on. Before I do this, let's get my glue ready. I'm going to glue the steering wheel to the column. So the whole purpose of that was so that I get the windshield wiper arm and everything in the proper, well, it's windshield wiper signal arm, there you go, our signal indicator in the right orientation, and that was what that was all about. Okay, how's our muffler looking? Muffler looks a little weird, I'll be honest. I'm not super happy with it. I don't want it to look like I've brushed it on. And of course, if you go too heavy with your, like I used lacquer thinner to thin it out. If you go too heavy with lacquer thinner, you'll start melting the plastic. But I think that'll be okay looking. Alright. Okay, let's go back to this. I'm going to dump this out, because then it'll dry in there better. I'm going to take care of this now. We're going to use white spirits. Okay? I'm going to use a couple of different things. Let's get this out of the way. I'll put you over there. Put you over here. We're going to use a couple of things. We're going to use brush, maybe Q-tips, things like this. We're going to basically get in here and reactivate all of this and blend it all up and take up some of our excess. Okay. So you get this all soaked up like this. And then we dry it up a little bit. Like that. Give it a bit of a wipe. So that we've got basically a paper towel on the floor. No. It's basically like a brown wash that is going to stain up our white. But you can clean it up more or less, basically how much you want. And I'm just going to knock everything on the floor, and that, because, you know, that's the way I am. I'm just a big klutz. And I can do it everywhere on the white and make it like that. But at the same time, we can, before the thinner dries, we can get in there and give it a bit of a wipe and clean away, so that we've got just that little bit of a tinge, right? And you can leave some in dark spots and make it look like grime is pooled and stuff like that. We can grab a Q-tip that fell on the floor and we can polish up little areas with a little bit of thinner on the Q-tip. We can polish up little areas and make it clean, and clean it almost back to the original white. So we can make it a little grimy without making it look like it's just totally filthy and neglected. We'll even do in the wheel wells here like this because, well, wheel wells would be dirty, wouldn't they? So this, of course, is totally how far or how little you do is really up to you. Similar way we did with you see me do with airplanes on their undercarriage. It's really up to you. You start getting too much on your brush and you're basically just getting a big brown everywhere. Well, then it's time to give it a bit of a wipe and soak up some of this. And maybe time to clean your brush, right? Sometimes you gotta clean the brush off too and drop your Q-tip on the floor again. The whole idea is to keep reactivating it and wash it away. Like that. This is a bit of an ugly, messy job, but it's part of that detail thing that it makes the difference in how realistic your model looks. You can always do things like you could replicate, maybe there was an oil leak at some point, maybe you had some brake fluid go under here. You never know, right? What's the story of this car? What has happened to it? You don't always know. You just know, you see the result of it. You could leave one side a lot darker than the other because maybe there was an oil leak at some point and it just never got cleaned up because, well, it is the underside of the car that people don't really care about too much. Out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, right? Yep, I'm doing this wheel well too for continuity. Get both sides. Get in here and clean that out. Give her a wipe. Brush a little bit of a clean off here, and we'll get in here and clean this a little. I'm going to go for mostly clean, but maybe there was a couple of things that happened, and you know, particularly of where the rear end's going to mount. Yeah, maybe had a shock leak or something like that. We don't know. Maybe had a rear end leak. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it blew a rear end at some point. But you see what I mean? This is kind of what we're going for, right? It's still clean, it's still white, but definitely, you know, we got some grease and grime and stuff like that. This car has actually been through life, you know. I'm gonna just clean this side a little bit more, just so it's the same as on this side. Where'd my Q-tip go? Tip that in there again. Here we go. right. We're looking pretty good. Maybe I could clean up a little bit more in here. Just to clean that up. Clean it up just to clean it up? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So we've got a dirty undercarriage, but it's not, you know, it's dirty, but it's not neglected. I could add a little bit of rust, maybe where the subframe connectors are. But we'll see. Let's see how this is going to look. If I put a rear end in here like that, our rear end goes like this, it sits in like that. They want actually the exhaust to go in first. Let's just do a little bit of a mock-up here of our full look. As this is all coming together very slowly. That's basically what our undercarriage is going to look like when she's all assembled. I'm not quite there yet. And I'm seeing now why they want the exhaust glued in first, because it's actually my lowered rear end is hitting the exhaust pipe, causing my exhaust to do that. She's a little crooked. Because this beam that goes across here has been lowered down. It's hitting the exhaust pipe. It's pushing down on it. Now if my exhaust was glued in, I can't do it. It won't work. So I need to trim that bar. This bar needs to be trimmed. Let's see, I'm going to mark where it needs to be trimmed. Here. And here. Okay, that little section right here. This needs to be notched out. So I'm going to try and just notch this as much as I can without cutting all the way through. So I'm just going to shave off and keep on shaving. Try my best not to break the bar. Let's try that. better, but it's not ideal. I'll have to keep going with it. I might wind up... Let me grab my Dremel. Dremel will allow me to take off material. Got that down to like a hair of a thickness. So we'll see how that fits now. Hey, we're good. We're good. I can have my exhaust straight now. That's perfect. I've got a weird little dot in my exhaust right there that's kind of weird, where the paint's kind of peeled away a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a little bit of a little dot of rust right there. It's going to look like rust is kind of coming through there. And of course, that just took it away. I keep putting way too much. There we go. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, are you happy with that? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, you guys get the idea of what we got going on here. And so it's looking pretty good. That's something we can do. We can add a little bit of an orange tinge. Now I've got it on my Q-tip. I can kind of just add a little bit to give it that little bit of rusty look. Kind of want to get in on our axle mounts here. Like that. that a little bit more of a look, to give it a look. Yeah. Okay. Blend that in just a little bit better. Yeah, okay, I think we got a good thing going on here now. Step number 2, part C, is gluing our exhausts in. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then we got to get going. Okay, so we're going to add some glue going here and to our engine points. Those are the only 3 points the exhaust, oh sorry, there's 4 points where the exhaust mounts. So I'm going to use my thicker glue. We're going to put it on one exhaust manifold here, one here, and right here, where the muffler mounts, but also our one little mount here. This guy right there. So, for me, the hardest part was always lining up the pin for the muffler at the back. There we go. And that's it. And so we're going to let that sit. She's going to let that dry for a long time. And that is where we're going to end it for today. So that's what we're going to call for today, guys. She's finally starting to take shape, and we're finally getting something done. Yes. So as you can see, there's a lot of little details and stuff that's kind of just drags out and takes a long time to do, but in the end result, it looks really good. As you can see, I've got a pretty realistic looking dirty undercarriage on this, but at the same time, like I've been saying so many times now, the goal is to have it look like, yeah, it's a little bit of an older car, but it's not neglected, it's not rusting out or anything like that, right? That's the whole purpose behind it. And of course, wanting it to look realistic in that process. So, yeah, things take time, and yeah, layers of paint, layers and layers and layers, and that's the key. You're not going to get the proper look just by 1 or 2 coats of paint and that's it, right? So, it takes time. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for the drudgery of following along with me on this, and all the support. Hit the like button down below, subscribe, check out the description box for my links to my other things, and we'll see you all in the next one.